I'm Shantell, my last name is Martin, and I live in New York at the moment, but I'm originally from London, and I grew up in a place called Thamesmead, which is in southeast London, and it's kind of famous for being in Clockwork Orange and all these great movies like that. So yeah, I grew up in Thamesmead in London and went to art school. I went to Camberwell College of Arts and did a foundation course there, and then I went to St Martin's, which is probably a little more well known. And then I did a degree in graphic design and specialised in illustration. I'm a complete hybrid. I do, you know, I'm in New York, so people always ask me, what do you do, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I draw on people, and I do live performance using Wacom tablets or iPads, and I draw. It's all based in drawing and illustration, but when I do more of a high-tech performance, I'm drawing on computer tablets and iPads using software on my computer, and then that's projected, and it's projected onto spaces or onto walls, and then I do live drawn sketch projection. So I'm sketching and it's projected, and I do this to bands and DJs and dancers, and I draw around people and on people. So that's one thing I do. I also do a lot of illustration, pen and paper, and really kind of detailed, almost subconscious kind of mind melting of who I see and who I meet and where I go. And so I do, yeah, a lot of digital stuff, videos, live performance, and then a lot of more analog stuff. So yeah, pen, paper, and drawing on people, drawing on walls, drawing on cars, drawing on shoes, you know, just drawing on whatever I can. I got into drawing on people actually through doing my live shows. So I was living in Japan at the time, and I got into doing kind of live visuals, drawing in my sketchbooks, using also magnifying glasses and stuff like this, and drawing under a camcorder and projecting that behind bands, usually kind of noise music and really kind of Japanese avant-garde music. So a little bit strange. And you know, in Japan, they're slightly obsessed with getting signatures or getting you to sign their book or something like that. So after shows, people would come up and they'd be like, "Sign shodai? Like, can you give me a sign?" And they'd put out their arm. So I would take some of my pens that I was drawing with at the time, and you know, I'd sort of just signing their arm, Shantell Martin. I'd draw something like an eye or a little bird or some kind of creature from my mind. And then one time a girl called Jamie, she was like, I want you to draw on all of me, or you know, I want you to draw on my face. So I was like, okay. So I gathered up my pens, we met at her place, and I spent a few hours, and I literally drew on her face and her arms and kind of like here and on her back, and you know, took a few pictures of it, put it on the internet, and then tons of people picked it up and blogged it and reblogged it, and then another really talented photographer in Japan, Sebastian, was like, oh, let's do a collaboration. You know, so I met with Sebastian, and we chose two friends that I wanted to draw on and did the same thing again, and then it kind of became more of a hobby. You know, I had friends and fans that wanted me to draw on them, and then photographers that wanted to collaborate. So it just started off as a like person line project, you know, bringing people and lines together. So that's how that started, and it's fantastic. I've done it in, you know, London, Florida, New York, Tokyo, and I actually did it on the news, on the live news in Florida last month, which was amazing. I got to draw on the news anchor Donna Bell, who I think she didn't know really what was happening to her at the time, but you know, I drew on her, and we had a little discussion about what I was doing, and then after she went back to the news desk and continued to read the news, you know, but with this like drawing all down her arm, and that was really amazing how, you know, something that just started off as a little, like, can you sign my arm? 2 years, 3 years later, I'm on the news in America, drawing on a news anchor. It's a little bit surreal. I moved to Japan and I stopped drawing and creating. I took some time out, and then I finally picked it up, and I started to draw just on pen and paper. And some friends saw it and they're like, can you do this at our event? You know, can you do some live painting or live drawing? And I was like, oh, that's kind of cheesy. But what if I draw in the style and the size that I do, which is quite small, and we can project that? I started to work in a more kind of analog fashion with pen and paper and projecting that, and that eventually evolved into me, you know, using a computer and drawing software and a Wacom tablet. And the ideal setting for that just seemed to be a club, you know, because you can start with a black screen and, you know, techno music, minimal techno house, and zoom in, zoom out, move it around, and it's really amazing to be in a club. And you know, you're usually used to these like crazy flashing visuals, but then if you're confronted with like this line, you know, so you're dancing and you see this line, you're like, wow, that line's turning into an eye, and it's turning into this creature and a boat, and it's zooming in and zooming out, and it's just, it was like a perfect setting for it. So, and then, you know, I did it more and more, and just really enjoyed it. Now I'm getting more into, so I've just spent the last 5-6 years accompanying like bands and DJs and musicians, and I want to do more of the music side myself. So I'm working on this concept of verbal illustrations, you know, making lines and illustrations with my voice, either using, you know, more kind of algorithms or codes. So if I'm like, ah, you know, this line is, ah, and then I can work from there. So this kind of thing. And then also perhaps doing an audio-visual performance where perhaps I'm rapping, singing, shouting, screaming, and you get to see a journey of my illustration. So the two become one. You know, instead of it being, this is a band playing and then I'm you know, creating the lines behind them, it's going to be more of a kind of a whole piece. So that's what I'm working on at the moment, and it's really exciting. And I get to go to friends' practice spaces and studios, and I'm on the mic and just really having fun with it at the moment. And it's been a while since I've like really got into something completely new. You know, my advice for someone that wants to do what I do is just do it. You know, there's no point thinking about it, talking about it, buying a book to do it, checking videos. Just go out, create, record it, share it. And the more you do that, the more you get feedback, the more you're going to develop your style and have fun with it. So my name's Shantell Martin. You can find me on the internet, just Shantell Martin, SHANTELL MARTIN. There's a ton of videos out there. You'll be able to see me next year in Florida. I'm performing at Digital Graffiti, which is the world's biggest outdoor festival, projection festival. And I'll be performing at the Museum of Moving Image in January. So yeah, if you're in New York or Florida, come and see me, check my website, check my videos.